Ortiz into deep right field. Back is Sheffield. We'll see you later tonight.
Meek deals. Base hit to right field. Here comes Richardson. Here's the throw from Markakis. Richardson is safe. Derek Jeter ends his final game with a walk-off single.
1-1 for Tyson. Batista with a drive. Deep left field. No doubt about it.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Chasing 2 podcast, episode number 16. I'm Blake Frazier alongside Dylan Smith. Dylan, it's been a while since we've done one of these crazy times going on right now, but we're in the middle of the off season for MLB. Winter meetings are right around the corner, but it's nice to be on a podcast again for sure.
Yeah, took a little bit of break. Life happens, but we're back, so let's get it rolling.
Yeah, we're planning to get back on the one episode per week where we release on every Wednesday. So we'll release another one next week on Wednesday. We'll record on Tuesday. But Dylan, right before we talk about this, the Angels made a trade last week. They picked up Jose Iglesias. What was your thoughts on that move?
Yeah, it was Perry Managian's first move. Our new GM. I shouldn't say our. The Angels. The Angels first move. With the new GM, and yeah, I like it. I mean, he's basically a not to disrespect the man, but a knockoff version of Andrelton Simmons. Very good defender, and actually, had a better offensive season in 2020 or 2020 season, right?
Yeah,
it's been a while, like 2019, 2020. I don't know what year it is at this point.
Yeah, almost turning the page on that.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a good trade. They're getting Iglesias for $3 million. They had Simmons for $50 last year, so it saves a little, a good chunk of change to go after some pitching, and we'll see what their next move is.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I'd probably give it a B move for Perry. He there was a couple of surprise non-tenders, I guess you would say. What you want to name those? Keenan Middleton. I was a little surprised that he got non-tendered.
Basically, the whole bullpen got non-tendered.
yeah. So
Middleton, Bedrosian got let go earlier in the offseason. Hanzo Robles, Hobie Milner. I'm missing one. Oh, Justin Anderson, who had Tommy John. So pretty much the whole bullpen got non-tendered, which means expect some bullpen pieces to be going there too. So hopefully that means a Liam Hendricks or a Brad Hand type of guy, or even a Blake Trinan type of player. So
for sure,
we'll see though. I mean, time will tell. I mean, it's not moving right now, so until things start to get moving a bit, we're really not going to know. Only one reliever, Trevor May, got signed so far. So
yeah, the Mets. Yeah, so we'll talk about the Mets right now. A team that just got a brand new owner, Steve Cohen. He's got a lot of money. He's been talking a lot of free agents. Is this the start of the Mets finally going to become like consistently good again, or like are we still going to be behind there a little bit?
I think it'll be like a Dodgers situation. The Dodgers went from a pretty bad owner to somebody that really wanted to win, and their ownership group that wants to win, and look what the success they've had. So with DeGrom already in place and Pete Alonso and McNeil there,
Syndergaard coming off Tommy John too.
Yeah, he's a free agent next year. We'll see if he resigns there. But I'm talking about the three pieces they've kind of had locked in, or will have locked in for the next 4 years. It's not a bad three little pieces to have, and we'll see if Cohen can add some, like a George Springer or, even Marcell Ozuna maybe, if there's a DH. Guys like that, or even Nolan Arenado in trade. We'll get into that. But
yeah, there's a lot of players that are kind of waiting on if there's going to be another universal DH. I got like Nelson Cruz. He's not going to go over to the NL unless he knows there's going to be a DH. Ozuna's in that boat. You can put Kyle Schwarber in that boat maybe. Jay Bruce, another guy that is kind of waiting on that universal DH. But let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays here for a second. This is news to me because I am not used to the Jays being on everybody. Like, you hear some whispers here and there, but like every news notification you get, it's Jays are interested in Real Muto, Springer, James Paxton, Ozuna. It's just like they got to land at least one of these guys, right?
Yeah, you'd think of how hard they're going after him, but we'll see. I mean, the Jays are a tough sell, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be playing in Toronto next season. I would expect them to be in Buffalo again,
Yeah.
just due to Canada's restrictions, even with the NHL is having some issues.
And the
Um,
Raptors are playing in Tampa right
yeah,
now, so
yeah. So it's kind of hard to sell somebody on Toronto when you can't even play there, and you're really going to be in Buffalo for however long. So I think that's a big challenge for the Jays.
yeah,
And then you look at the division. I mean, usually the Red Sox and the Yankees get the big fish,
true.
and I can't name
No, you can't.
a
Like I
player in
get
their prime,
it.
a player
Yeah,
in their prime that's ever signed with the Jays, out of free agency.
yeah.
So
I really would like them to get George Springer. I think he would add a lot to the team. He's your leadoff hitter, guy that's got a lot of experience in the playoffs. Obviously, all that stuff that went on with the Astros, but um, with such a young group of guys, I think like Springer would be a good fit there. Like I know you've been on the Marcell Ozuna train at Toronto for a long time. I think I'd be a good fit too. But I think Paxton makes a lot of sense too for the Blue Jays. He'd be like if he stays healthy, Paxton's a really good pitcher. Like
well, he's
between
Canadian. I mean,
and he's
the
Canadian
same thing
too.
with Russell Martin. You guys had an advantage because Russell Martin was Canadian.
True.
So
Yeah, exactly. So I see that as a fit. They're interested in Colton Wong, JT Uramoto too, and DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu would be awesome, but I think he's most likely going to go back to the Yankees. But let's talk about some non-tenders here. Let's start with the Cubs. They non-tender Schwarber, like we mentioned. Chris Bryant, I think he's a free agent next year, and Rizzo's a free agent next year. So this kind of seems like this is kind of an end of an era. They won the World Series in 2016, and it seems like the Cubs are kind of ready to retool or rebuild a little bit.
yeah, so obviously Schwarber's making 10. I think it was 10 to 12 million arbitration was his expected number.
Yeah.
And then I think Rizzo's would be their franchise guy just because of how long he's been there.
Yep.
And then Chris Bryant, they weren't going to let him walk for nothing. So they tendered him a contract,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're looking for suitors. And seems to be, seems to be a little bit of chatter on, people trying to get him, but nobody could really tell his market right now because he didn't have a great
No.
2020 season.
Yeah.
And he's kind of been a shell of himself since he won the MVP a couple of years ago. So, I mean, I can't really tell you what his market value is. So it's kind of a tricky situation.
We were talking about Rizzo before they picked up his option. We were wondering if they would pick up his, I think it's $15 million option, and they ended up picking that up. So if I was to pick one guy, I think you're probably right. I think they would probably keep Rizzo and get rid of
And Baez.
And Baez too. That's right.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Some other surprises, I guess, maybe like impact bats like David Dahl, Eddie Rosario, Brian Goodwin, even. It's a good fourth outfielder. If you need some depth. Nomar Mazara and Archie Bradley. He's a great bullpen piece. I was really surprised that the Reds didn't tender him a contract, but the most surprising to me is David Dahl. Like, this guy's 26 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he was the number one, first round draft pick at one point.
Yeah.
And, the injuries have kind of derailed his career thus far. But, you put him in a situation that fits and maybe goes over the AL, maybe DHs some games just to keep him healthy.
He'd be a good fit with the Red Sox, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options for David Dahl. I mean, I think every single team across the league could use a lefty right fielder, left-handed hitting right fielder.
Absolutely.
And there's a ton of them. There's Josh Reddick, Schwarber, Jock Peterson. I'm kind of blanking right now, but there's a couple more in there that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Markakis.
Yep.
Michael Brantley.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of left-handed hitters that play the outfield out there, and it's going to be a very bad market for these guys. I think that guys are going to get shafted if they don't sign quick because they want to be the first one signed. Because as time goes on, the less money you're going to make.
Yeah, and you looked at that free agent pool before the non-tender deadline, and then you look at it after, and just look how deeper it got. I mean, Eddie Rosario, a guy that is a
Eddie
consistent.
Rosario, another one.
Yeah, that's another one. Like you don't really notice how good he is until you look at his stats, and it's like, oh, this guy had what 25 home runs last year. He drives in runs. He can steal some bags. He plays good defense in the outfield. I was really surprised that the Twins couldn't find a home for this guy. Like I would have kept Rosario if I was them. But maybe they prioritize that money maybe towards a guy like Nelson Cruz. They want to bring him back or something like that. That would make sense why you let a guy go like that. But it's going to be interesting next week. I think the signings are really going to pick up as the virtual winter meetings go on. But let's talk about some guys that could be traded. The first one on the list is Nolan Arenado. It was reported a couple days ago that they are not even on the same page, and this guy can opt out next year. So if there's a guy that's going to go, it's going to be Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, and it better be a good fit because he's got that opt-out clause like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But that could be restructured if a team's willing to trade major prospects. Maybe that, the Rockies say, hey, if we trade you to Team X, are you willing to push back that opt-out 2 years or a year?
Mm-hmm.
And that will get them more value. So I don't know if he's willing to do that, but it's definitely a situation that can happen. But he'd be he's an MVP caliber player.
Platinum glove.
But yeah, probably the best defensive third baseman, we've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And any team, your team, the Jays, they were to make a big splash. They have the prospects.
Yep.
They have the young players.
Yep.
That's impact bat that maybe puts you up there to possibly win the division if you get a free agent, with that. So
I don't want to compare it to Josh Donaldson, but it'd be like that, like to the fan base, it'd be that type of impact. Like when they trade for Josh Donaldson, the fans are like, okay, like it's go time. That would be kind of similar. Obviously, Arenado's a lot better than Josh Donaldson, don't get me wrong, but like that similar power bat to the lineup. The Rockies, they still got Charlie Blackmon on the books. I don't see anybody taking that big contract. I think the Rockies are going to be stuck with it, but who are some other guys on that team that they could move? Like, who is the guy?
They basically got, Trevor Story, if they want to.
True. He's a free agent next year, too.
He's a free agent next year, get the prospects out of him.
The Rockies could be tearing down here this year because, you can't really.
The Rockies definitely aren't going to be looking pretty for a while.
No,
just based off.
Hey,
they're looking. Either. They finally are looking themselves in the mirror and saying, we need to develop pitching and we need to draft well. And until we do that, we're not going to be able to compete with the Dodgers at the Padres. So, it makes sense.
To me, the Rockies are just like a team that's like has good players, but they never have really good starting pitching, and they're always just stuck in the middle. Like they're not terrible, but they're not like they're nowhere near the Dodgers.
The thing with them is their ownership group has to be willing to spend money also.
Yeah,
they're true. Not. So if you're not willing to spend money, you have to draft well.
Mm-hmm.
And really, they only spend money on their players that they develop.
Mm-hmm.
I can't name a free agent that they, drop big money on other than Ian Desmond.
Oh, that's Super Pen.
And that's Super Pen, I guess.
Yeah. The last guy on the list here, we already talked about Chris Bryant, is Blake Snell. Came out today that he said it's a matter of time before he thinks he's going to get moved from the Rays. Mind-boggling to me that they would just let go of Charlie Morton and now trade Blake Snell. But like you said, they don't need you to go 6-7 innings. They only need you to go 4 or 5, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. They could go pay somebody $2 million, $4 million to give them 5 innings, 2 runs, 3 runs, and that'll get it done. Hand off the ball to somebody else, and that's your day. But Blake Snell wants to go deep into the games. He's making $15 million this year.
Yeah.
Hey, it makes sense from the Rays standpoint. We can cash in on the prospects, maybe get a pitching prospect back. And then we just same cycle, get rid of them, once his rookie deal's over and he's in arbitration. So,
And
um,
the way that he pitched in the postseason, his values skyrocketed. He was lights out in the World Series, and it's gonna be interesting to see where he goes. Like, would you say he stays in the AL, or would you think he goes over the NL?
I think anybody can make a play other than the teams in their division. I don't think that
Yeah.
anybody in the division has a chance.
Hmm.
If anybody outside of the division does, just because the Rays do still want to be competitive, it makes no sense to trade them to the Jays or the Yankees or
Yeah.
the Red Sox at this point because I think the Rays are still trying to be competitive. It's
I,
just they
I
think they could fill those holes with cheaper
I think
options.
I know we're gonna do a prediction show next week, but if I had to guess a team, I would say like if San Diego strikes out on Bauer, I think that would be a good fit for them. I
Mhm.
think like the Padres, I think that'd be a good fit for them. Um, Sonny Gray, he's gonna be they want to trade him. The Reds, they're gonna lose obviously Trevor Bauer, and now trading Sonny Gray, they let go Archie Bradley and Brian Goodwin, like we mentioned. The Reds, after showing some signs of hope the last couple of years, they're getting ready to move all these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know if he'll actually be moved. I think they're just floating him around
Hmm.
because they want to get a shortstop. They want
Yeah.
to get an impactful shortstop, and they feel, hey, we have Luis Castillo, and we could fill the rotation pieces,
Hmm.
with lower tier free agents, maybe like Alex Wood, bring him back, or um, a John Lester type. I'm just trying to think of
Cole Hamels,
guys that
even.
kind of, yeah, middle of the pack guys.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that
Even a guy like
maybe their
Jeff
own.
Samardzija, like I think he'd be solid there.
Well, and they have some young pitchers. Friend of the pod, TJ Antone.
Yeah.
He's had some pretty impressive years in the minor leagues, and now he had a really good year in his first year out of the pen. So,
Mm.
I feel like they actually have some arms that they think, you know what, we can start these guys, and they're gonna be more impactful than not. So, um,
The,
I don't expect them just to totally, you know, tear down. I mean, they
yeah.
signed Moustakas, they signed Castellanos. That's not what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's just a retool,
Yeah.
and maybe they're just saying, hey, maybe we can get some value out of Sonny Gray.
Okay, we will end the pod on talk about some players that have signed. We'll start with Charlie Morton, 1 year, 15 mil to the Braves. Do you like that move for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great marriage. Kind of what the Braves did with Cole Hamels last year.
Yep. Unfortunate, it didn't
Um,
work out,
yeah, it
right?
didn't work out, but this is, Charlie Morton, uh, better track record within, the past 5 years. So,
Yep.
um, I think it's a great move. It's going to be great for their young guys, Soroka and Freed,
Hmm.
to learn off of him too. So, hey, there's three in the if, and they still have Ian Anderson who shoved too.
He
So,
did. He did.
if those four are giving you games in the postseason, I think you're feeling
And
pretty confident.
the Braves also picked up Drew Smiley. He pitched in
Hmm.
San Francisco last year, 1 year, $11 million. So on paper, that's a really good rotation.
Yeah, definitely
Solid.
overlooked, I'd say.
Soroka's coming off a torn Achilles,
Hmm.
so we'll see what he looks like in the spring. The next guy we'll talk about is Robbie Ray. He goes back to the Blue Jays on a 1 year, $8 million contract. I think this guy's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of swing and miss stuff. He does give up the long ball though. He did in the starts with the Jays, so that's a concern for me a little bit. But if he can figure out his walks, I think this guy could be a really good 3/4 starter for the Jays. Mike Minor goes to back to the Royals, 2 years, 18 mil. It's a lot. They gave him a lot of money.
I mean, he's had pretty good years other than 2020,
Yeah,
and for me, a lot of players, like you already know, 2020 is
yeah.
throw it away.
Throw it
Like
away.
it's
Yeah.
like there were so many good players that just couldn't get on track.
Mhm.
So, I would just you can't really look at the what's happened in 2020. I would go back to the 2 years prior to that when he was at Texas. He was lights out.
He was
He was
good.
an all-star.
Yep.
And on top of that, just something that I wanted to put out there is I saw that Mike Minor's giving a percentage away of his contract to charity.
Yep.
So hats off to him for that. That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then Trevor May to the Mets. We noted that.
Yep.
First reliever to sign, and the only position player is Michael Taylor to the Royals on a 1 year, $1 million. So, hopefully the position players market starts to move.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, when you have a stockpile of kind of the same profile player,
Yep.
it allows teams to wait it out and get them on cheaper contracts. So,
we anticipated Kevin Gausman would accept the qualifying offer 1 year. I think it's $18.9 million, but he did get a 3-year deal from the Jays, $45 million. So, he bet on himself with the 1 year, 18 mil. He could have got 3 years, 15 from the Blue Jays, but he is going to be going back to the Giants. And then Marcus Stroman accepted the qualifying offer. And remember, we found this out, I think it was 3 weeks ago, that once you accept the qualifying offer, you cannot get it again for the rest of your career. So those two guys accepted qualifying offers. But were you surprised that Stroman, like right after Cohen signed, he accepted it right away? Were you surprised?
I think that was impactful that there was a new owner in town, and how exciting he's been to listen to, and his plans for the team. So I think that definitely impacted Stroman's decision. But also, he didn't pitch all last year, so
No.
I mean, you can't really complain. You can't leave $18 million on the table, I guess, if you're Stroman.
Cohen, like, this guy is on Twitter tweeting at Mets fans, like, who do you think we should sign? I'm just like, I haven't seen a GM like interact with fans like that. It's an
exciting time to be a Mets fan.
It is absolutely an exciting time. They're gonna get some good players. I think JT Realmuto probably ends up there, but we'll get into all that next week. We'll be back to record on Tuesday, a release on Wednesday. But yeah, it was nice to be back, nice to record again, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, take care, guys.